Welcome, everybody, to another episode of The Howl, where we feature individuals from various backgrounds who have captivating stories to tell. Our goal is to bring people together by sharing diverse perspectives and experiences to inspire positive change in the world. And I am your host for today, Nicholas Barber. And please allow me to introduce our next guest, Laureen, a remarkable individual who has embarked on a transformative journey from engineering to becoming a multifaceted creative in the vibrant city of Los Angeles. Hailing from Manila, Philippines, a graduate of De La Salle, Manila, Laureen's diverse range of talents now flourish in the realms of film, TV, and various artistic business ventures. You may have seen her in a show called Grey's Anatomy. Beyond her impressive professional pursuits, Laureen is a passionate advocate for emotional and mental health growth. She firmly believes in the power of authenticity and encourages others to embrace their truest selves without filters or apologies, allowing them to live fully and unapologetically. Having experienced her own journey in life thus far, Laureen aims to inspire by sharing her personal stories and insights. Through her presence on her show, she will shed light on the importance of emotional well-being and encourage everyone to embark on their own transformative paths towards self-discovery and fulfillment. Join us as we delve into Laureen's captivating journey, exploring her creative endeavors and gain valuable insights into living authentically and prioritizing emotional and mental health. Get ready to be inspired, to embrace your truest self, and live a life filled with purpose and passion alongside our incredible guest, Laureen Audrey.
Oh my God. You weren't kidding about the intro. I was sweating.
Oh, it's great. You know, we've only bumped into each other a few times. You're actually a friend of a friend, and you're in the arts field as well. So when we first met, there's really like great energy. And, you know, we both grew up in the Philippines. And for our viewers here, you know, for our viewers in the Philippines, we know how karaoke goes down. And I'm just letting you know that Laureen, like, she takes karaoke to a whole new level. But welcome to the show, Laureen. Great to have you.
Thank you for having me. I'm so excited for this. I saw a few of your podcast shows and just like seeing what you post on the internet and what you post on Instagram. I'm just really happy to see another creative Filipino. It's very rare that we are, you know, like appraised or whatever. It's just hard for us to get into this kind of industry, especially outside of the Philippines.
Oh, yes, definitely. So it's a very community. Like we keep each other like close by, right? We say our highs and we support each other when everything is there. For our guests, you know, that don't really know you yet, give a quick rundown on who you are and what you stand for, really.
Yeah. Aside from what Nick already said, my name's Laureen. Like you said, I graduated as an engineering with an engineering degree from the South University. But as I moved here in the LA in 2020, I ventured out onto creative endeavors. One of the first creative endeavor I've ever been into was participating in a show as a background actor. And then the pandemic happened, and then I participated, luckily, in another show, and I've been on that show ever since. Like you mentioned, it's Grey's Anatomy. So far, I've been working professionally as a background actor, background artist, and I've recently been promoted to a stand-in on the show. And other than that, on my free time, I love exploring more creative endeavors. I've just recently been opening up a sticker business, and now I have a few other businesses that I'm working on. And it's just, I'm really all about, they say that in this world, we have to find ourselves to be truly, truly happy. But as my journey has started in 2020, I realized I'm only just going back to who I really am. Like I've known all my life that I've been this some kind creative person. I've had vlogs and like DIYs and everything. And then somehow I just ended up being, studying engineering for like 8 years of my life because of family and such. But truly, being your most filtered free and truest selves is just going back to what you absolutely have passion for. And for me, I'm still continuing to discover that about myself. But the more that I get myself into what I truly love and the more I continue to do it, the more I'm just like, you know what? I actually love life. Life is really freaking great. And it's just that, I don't know. I mean, for me, the way I see it in this world right now, there can be a lot of bitterness and unhappiness. And especially from our culture, it's just like a lot of like constraint and just like being put inside a box. once we step out and we feel safe to express ourselves and to be seen and heard about it, that's when we truly become not so much of a weight on this world. Like the world just feels a lot lighter with people who like truly freaking love their life and don't like breathe on other people.
Yeah. And I
Yes.
want to you touch base on stuff that like throughout this episode, we'll explore in concepts and we'll get to know more about like what you think and what pushes you. But I kind of want to talk about before getting it started, like how you kind of glanced on it, but it's like how life is telling people, life, however you want to frame it, is telling you who to be, right? What to do, and that leads to like when people are telling you, when it's coming from an external entity, you're kind of like, well, I don't want to do that, but for reasons, for financial reasons, for future, for for many other reasons that other people will be having, life seems to dictate what we should be. And going back like to your inner child and going back to like really what lights your heart on fire is leads to like such a fulfilling life. So for the first part, we'll start with your personal journey, Laureen. Can you share some significant moments and experiences that you've had that played a crucial role in shaping your personal journey and led you to who you are today?
I mean, I like that you mentioned the inner child. For me, that's what I've been like focusing on. I've been focusing on my inner child and like what she wants and what she has, what lights her up, like what you mentioned. And some specific moments in my life that really like shined upon that was literally moving out here. Like as much it was like a scary transition, I just knew in my heart I did not cry. Like when I left the Philippines, my entire life was there from like from like ever since I was born to like graduating. I was 21 years old and I was excited. Like I was like, I couldn't freaking wait to move out here. As much as I was leaving everyone and everything I ever knew, I just knew it was what I needed to do to make myself grow. And so as much as I had so many of my subconscious beliefs, so many of all the things I grew up with still stuck in my head, I just knew like somehow in this pandemic, in this like not having much responsibility and just like diving into the unknown is what would help me become who I am today. And I've always had this like specific life in my mind. Like growing up, I wanted to be this, I wanted to do that. And I realized that I was the only person in my way of getting the life that I wanted. Because as much as there are external entities of like parents and relatives and just like society, just like say you can't do this, you can't do that. It's just more of like, do I believe in what they say? Do I wanna follow them? Are they living my life? And so it was just a lot of like unpacking and a lot of like leaving out my people pleasing tendencies in order to become who I am today, which is a much more, think I could say that I feel like I'm much more confident in myself today, because when you truly like admire what you stand for and what you do, you feel more confident. Like if I were to compare myself with years before or just like before I moved out here, like I wasn't confident in anything I was studying. And so I was
Yeah.
like, you asked me a question about all the things that I study. I'm like, what? Ask someone else. It's just hard.
Why do
But
you
yeah,
think that is? Like you spent like 8 years, like studying the literature, and
it's to be honest, it's just to appease our elders.
okay.
You know how in the
So
Philippines,
wala yung puso mo doon. Your heart wasn't in it.
yeah, it's more of like just to get them off my back. My mom's probably gonna watch this, so she knows I've had conversations with her already.
Oh, that's good. That's
Just
good.
like, yeah, it's just like I'm more honest about my journey now, because I know what I had to do to get to where I am, and I know what I had to give up and learn. And so to be honest about like, that wasn't really my thing. I didn't really have any heart in it. I had no passion to like dive into like what you guys. I mean, it's not wrong. It's not that it's wrong. It's just not my path. And so yeah, that was it.
How was the like like from coming here? There's definitely like probably way faster than if you would have stayed there. Like your transformation journey. Like since you got here, how has that influenced you in your decision to share your story? Because you are a very like heart on the sleeve type of woman. So how has that
Yeah.
like influenced that?
I feel like for myself, the reason why I'm so open to being vulnerable and very hard on my sleeve is because I didn't have that kind of person growing up. So it's just so hard to feel seen and heard. And it's just like, I just felt like you're alone in this world, you know? And for me to just be somewhat like a voice for maybe, I don't know who is, learning from whatever I'm saying, but sometimes I just feel like maybe it will reach out to someone who was the way that I was before. And all I needed was someone to be like, you know what, it's going to be okay. You're going to get through it. And what's the question?
No, no, that's really good. I actually took some things from it, and there's some similarities in a philosophy that I have. Is like you be what the world needs, right?
Yes. Or be what your inner child needs. Like,
Yeah, that's beautiful.
like somehow like growing up you crave for any adult validation or any adult just like guidance or anything. And I feel like once we are adults, we have to start parenting ourselves all over again. Because whatever we learned as kids was all mostly like Filipino mindset kind of thing, like very, like kind of like a certain standard and you can't think anything else. So once you're outside of that box, you start to parent yourselves and be like, okay, maybe I don't believe in this, maybe I believe in that. You know, it's not wrong to believe in different things as long as you're not hurting anyone else.
Yeah, that's beautiful. In what ways would you say you have embraced the authenticity of your own life, and how has it contributed to living a more fulfilling and purposeful existence?
Oh, purposeful, big word. Um, I guess I had to conquer a lot of my insecurities. Like, I knew I was a very insecure kid growing up. And for the most part, I just thought that everybody was like staring at me, judging me, looking at me. And like that kind of like messed with my head a little bit. And so for me to be confident in being like, you know what, I mess up a lot. And that's fine. That makes me human. So my insecurities aren't what degrade me. They are what make me human. They make me the same as everybody else. We're just not too vulnerable to admit it sometimes. You know, like some people may still have their guard up, their ego up to admit that they are freaking human. And it's okay to make mistakes. It's okay to have these things and those things. They're not so. I just want to be able to reframe what everybody thinks about insecurities. Like they shouldn't be like a weakening point in anyone's life. Like the fact that you are so open and so vulnerable to being like, hey, we're actually all the same people.
Yeah.
We're just different experiences, different levels of like things. But in the end, we're all the same. We're all going through life for the first time ever.
Yeah. And I just want to touch base with something you said about like your insecurities and your ego, because that word can kind of like, I understand it's a bit tricky in the Philippines. Like even in, I'm sure in LaSalle too, and in Ateneo, like ego can mean different things, right? There's different ways of thinking about it. And especially here in America, we have some American viewers that's here and in other parts of the world. What do you mean by ego?
I feel like because one of the first steps into like this whole journey thing is like awareness of the fact that you may be putting up a front. Some people have different levels to who they are, and most of us we put up this front. So for me, I would say I'm gonna put it out there. Like I know my front is like the happy-go-lucky, like crazy. What the hell? Like I don't give a damn what you think. That's my front. But when I'm alone in my room, I'm like, shit, I do give a damn what they said. You know, like damn, like I'm serious. Like it's just all. So sometimes our ego puts that front up so that people don't hurt us.
Yeah.
But when you know yourself and you know who you are, you know how to not let anyone hurt you. But I think for most of us going through life, it's just hard to trust someone and hard to put faith on people that they won't hurt you.
Yeah.
So to put your ego on the front of your entire being is just a way to protect yourself. So it's not bad. Like we all have egos. We all have a way to protect ourselves because we all just want to not get hurt. That's what life is really.
It's a great
So
self-defense mechanism.
yeah, basically, yeah, it's your self-defense mechanism. So it's nothing wrong with it. It's just more of like you're selective now. You're selective now with who you want to trust. You're selective now with who you want to give your energy to. You're selective now with who you want to let into your life. So
And it
it's all
seems
just
like you go through introspection as well, right? Like when you go in and you're in your house, you're where nobody's really around, then you can reflect on what's happening, right? Like when you said
Yeah.
that, oh, I actually care. But that's like,
Yeah.
that's great that you think about that, because introspection, I think, leads into like finding your true self and like what really matters to you. Because we can get, it's so easy to get carried away, like with groups of friends, right? With how they think and stuff like that, that we don't really, what we think and what we believe in gets put in the back burner, especially if you have people pleasing tendencies. Because you're like, hey, I want you to like me. I want to be liked. So,
Even like myself.
yeah. The
So
constant,
hard to balance those things out.
yeah. But you know, the journey, and I feel like taking the time in is really helpful. I think like when stuff is moving so fast, like with stuff happening now, people are always like, Nick, why are you not excited? Why are you not taking this? And I'm like, I am. It's just when I'm home, I take account of like what everything's happening. Like I really believe in meditation, like morning, evening, 15 minutes each time.
Morning and evening. Oh my God.
Yeah. Sometimes when it's the morning and you sleep, you know, it's a late night and you don't get it, you know. You sometimes do it later in the day, like in the afternoon, whenever you need it. But I try my best because it's a practice. Eh? Like when people sometimes say like, why are you so chill? And I'm like, well, I practice on being chill, I guess. So,
Yeah. It's more of like a debrief moment with yourself. It's kind of like with all amidst all the chaos, like how are you really? You know, like
it's
you
checking
sit
in on
and
yourself. Like, hey, Nick, you're feeling a little bit anxious. What's happening? And then you're listening to yourself. You're understanding it, and then you can kind of adjust. Because I used to be like a high functioning anxious person. Is everyone you me before? Yeah. And they're like, what? And then when I'm like being vulnerable, I guess, or saying like, oh, this is, you know, the state of mind that I was in before. And they're like, what? And I'm like, yeah, I just knew how to operate. But yeah. So, you know, this already this is going to be very interesting. But in your opinion, what does it mean to live fully and unapologetically? How can viewers, or how can I, you know, start embracing our true selves and start living with authenticity, in your opinion?
One of the recent things that I learned is that how to stand up for myself. Because like as a people pleaser, you tend to like let things slide. You tend to be more empathetic towards a person, but they weren't empathetic towards you. So like why be the better person in that sense? So to live unapologetically is to stand up for yourself because you know your worth. You know that you can speak up for yourself. You don't let anyone trample over you. So for me, I try to be myself and be intentional with my words and actions. Like, am I truly having a good time, or am I overcompensating for like the awkwardness that's happening because I still am highly anxious at times. So it's just more of just like, okay, I try to talk to myself before anything happens. It's kind of like talking to your intuition, listening to your intuition, and just like, what do you call this? It's just like, do I feel okay? Or do I feel like I'm trying to impress someone else? When I'm in that state of like, oh fuck, maybe I'm doing this to impress you. Maybe I'm doing this to ease the awkwardness. Then that's when I know I'm not living authentically. Because from then, I know I'm going to put up my front. I know I'm going to put up my ego. And so for me to just like sit with myself and be like, am I really having a good time? Do I really think I connect with this person? It's just more of like me putting myself as priority. Because if I don't put myself as priority, I'm gonna, what do you call this? There's a word for it. I'm gonna only hurt myself.
Overcompensate? Or
Yeah, overcompensate, you know, I just end up debriefing in like a very anxious matter. Like, for example, I come out, I hang out with friends, and I know in the back of my head that we are not the same people, or like maybe we're just not each other's people, and that's fine. We're not everybody's person.
Yeah.
And then, but during that time, I try to overcompensate for everything. Then I come home and I'm just like, oh my god, what did I do wrong? Do you think they like me? Blah blah blah. So for me to just be real with myself and be honest about what I say and what I do, that is living authentically. And from then on, maybe there's a snowball effect of like other people, like I start attracting other people who are authentic with themselves too, opportunities that are also authentic, opportunities that are also good energy and everything. It's just like it starts with you.
Definitely, definitely. Because we're something I do also, or I picked up, from like, who was it? I'm gonna quote him wrong. I think it was Alan Watts. He's this like the Western philosopher. He used to be like this super rich dude who had like a bunch of houses, a bunch of cars, and then he just couldn't find the meaning of life. Like he was like, "Is this it?" So he went like to the East and studied like different philosophies, and he was one of the first philosophers, Western philosophers, to bring Eastern philosophy. And I believe it was him. I'm sorry, Alan Watts Foundation, if I'm quoting you wrong, but he had this belief that like the subconscious is kind of like you're driving a car, right, in your brain, and then if like everything's just so cluttered there, if there's like fog, where's the driver going? So I feel like with moments that in social events or like when you're in work or hanging out with your other relationships, if you yourself are overthinking or clouded, right, or your judgment is getting clouded, you're not fully in control of the vehicle. So it's just very interesting, which leads us into the conversation about like the power of emotional well-being, I guess. And for you as an advocate, as a stanch advocate, I believe that, you really champion these ideas in your personal life. As being an advocate for emotional well-being and mental health, what led you to prioritize these aspects in your own life and work?
Can I just say 2022, 2021, one of the worst years ever. Where's 2022? I don't really remember, but like these past 3 years that I've been here, I it was just like breakdown after breakdown after breakdown, and I knew no one could help me. I knew no one could save me. Like I'm an adult, my friends are adults. Like I know my parents are there, but no one can save me. I can only save myself. So for me, as much as I've wanted to seek professional help, as much as I wanted to go to therapy, I knew there had to be other ways to get it. So I just researched all the resources I could find, all the books, all the podcasts, all just like TikTok videos. That's how desperate I was. Because I don't know, like all my life I knew I was depressed. Like I would say probably around the time that I started studying engineering, I knew I was going down a rabbit hole and just kept going down and lower and lower and lower. And then by the time that I had all this freedom of just like nothing, like I wasn't doing anything, I wasn't answering to nobody, there was no school. I was just talking to myself. I was alone with myself, and I was like, damn, like I feel like a robot. Like I have no hobbies. I have no personal interests. I feel like I'm just a product of other people's beliefs. And I just knew that was one of the pivotal moments in my life where I was like, I don't want to be sad anymore. As much as that's really hard to do, there has to be a way for me not to be sad anymore. Because I was angry, I was depressed, I was bleeding on other people, I was expecting everyone to be there for me, and I knew they couldn't. And so when I started seeking out these resources and started doing things for myself, that was when I was like, okay, so maybe this is kind of like this secret-ish in life. No, once you take care of your mental health, once you take care of your emotional health, everything just like forms a wave. Like it's just, I don't know, it's like when you're like what you said, when the driver's seat is clouded, the environment is clouded. So what can you do?
Yeah.
All you can control within that is the driver itself.
Which is
So
you,
for
right?
me,
And it gets
yeah,
there's like a feeling of overwhelmed, I guess, like you're taking in like your feelings, your
yeah,
emotions. And do you believe that emotional well-being of every human being impacts the ability for personal growth, creativity, and the pursuit of passions?
yes and no. I don't want to be like, as much as I am an advocate for mental and emotional health, I also don't want it to be my entire life. I don't want to go about my day thinking about every single decision that I have to make. I want to live in the present moment, and I just want to just like whatever comes next, just like do what I can deal for now. And if something pops up, then that's when I'll deal with it. Then that's when I'll sit with it. But yeah, I believe that once you, it's kind of like the cliche saying of like loving yourself first, and then that's why I have
The
this
rest
like
will
quote.
follow, right? Yeah.
I have this like quote in the back of my head, like when you start loving yourself, your life loves you back,
Beautiful.
something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah. So when I started taking care of myself, I like in an instant, not really in an instant, but like from the years that from all the years of my depressive episodes, it just like did a whole 180 of just like, oh my God, there's actually light at the end of the tunnel.
Yeah.
Oh my God, there's actually sunshine after the rainbow. And the more that I got that feeling of like gratitude and just like, oh my God, it actually does get better. That's when I started like doing more work into myself. So for me, once you take care of yourself emotionally, mentally, spiritually, physically, it all just starts to have a ripple effect. So it may lead you to your passion, but it definitely clears up the fog.
That's good and well. I wanna, if you're okay with it, I wanna swing back to what you said about depression, and it's okay if you don't wanna, if it's not the time and space. I just wanna see if you could share with us, the viewers and myself, what was it like, living with that constant state of depression, and then that realization that it doesn't need to be that way. If you are okay sharing.
Yeah. Well, first and foremost, you don't know if you're depressed actually in the Philippines. It's more of just like, wala lang yan. It's like, just shake it off. You're fine. You're good. I wasn't actually clinically diagnosed with depression. I look at it in a way that it is. So it's heavy for me to say that it is depression. So let's talk about it in like my former self.
Yeah.
So my former self was, to be in that state, you're just mad at everything. You're mad at the world, and you just seem like everything's against you. It's like nothing goes right at all. And to be aware of that, to be aware that the reason why you're sad and mad is because you're not taking care of yourself. It's kind of like a heavy responsibility on yourself. You're overwhelmed with like, oh, my life could have been different. You're saying my life could have been different. You're saying I wouldn't have cried all those nights. You're saying I wouldn't have all those anxious and panic attacks if I did things differently.
Life wouldn't feel such a burden, right? Like,
yeah, and that's heavy because you suddenly feel like you wasted your life.
yeah.
But for me, once you transform or at least like reach to the other side, as much as you have that regret of having that life, it's more of like without that life, I wouldn't have learned what I learned now. So it humbles you in a sense. It's like when I look back on all those years, I just see my inner child or my inner teen, and I'm like, it's okay now. It got better somehow, and if no one was there for you, maybe I can be there for someone else because that's all I can do right now. Like the past is gone. What I can do is just like work on what I have right now. And if something happens in the future wherein I can like contribute or at least help someone out, I'll be there. So maybe as suckish as it may think, sometimes you have to feel like all the troubles and all the battles you've been through has prepared you for something more.
Oh.
And it kind of sucks in that way because it's like, really? I don't have to be the bravest soldier, Lord.
Yeah. Yeah. But what you said really rings true. Like being there for your, like how I imagine it, like when you close your eyes, it's like you're there, like only you know what exactly you're going through. Like maybe if you imagine like the little kid Laureen back in high school, grade school, you already know how much of a burden you're carrying. So you kind of, you're more empathetic to that version of you. And then by being empathetic to that version of yourself, you see other people as well that way, right? You can hear that even if they're not saying it, you can kind of hear like, oh, okay, this person needs a little more of my time, This person needs a shoulder, an ear, anything that you can give that you've learned, right? Because sometimes people do not have the tools, especially in the Philippines, right? They do not have
Yeah.
the tools to help the people, and we can't really blame like our parents, our titos, our titas for not having the tools. But like, it's amazing that you just searched it out, you know. Me,
When you're desperate.
yeah, you know,
You'll do what you gotta do.
yeah, YouTube, great tool. TikTok can be a great tool and can be a great waste of time, but it depends on how you use it. But
It's all intentional. Yeah.
yeah, it's all about the intention. Yes, thank you for
I
saying
guess.
that. My mom was because she grew up parang diba, different generation, so it's like more of that rugged upbringing of like what you kind of mentioned. I don't want to really talk about a story that isn't mine, but when she started raising us, she was reading books. She was like, okay, how do like diba, books like Nurture versus Nature, stuff like that, how to raise children. And fun fact is my mom wasn't a hugger before, but she learned that children needed hugs. So when we were growing up, it was awkward for her, but you know, like I don't know, like I owe my mom a lot. She had like a very psychological background, and maybe not psychological at first, but she wanted to understand the mind. So raising us then, it was very much when we had problems, she wouldn't demand stuff from us. She would ask questions. She would have us be introspective about like our emotions and stuff. So like I was that weird kid who was like when people would rant, Nick, I want to go out with X, but Y is like super cute, and I'm like, so why don't you go out with Y? But I like X. I'm like, well, maybe if you think about this a little bit more, you can figure out. And then girls would be like, you know what? I don't want to vent to you anymore, and then they just leave me.
So you say you're mature at a young age?
Old soul. I'd say I was an old soul because I love like I was raised by a single mom, and then you know different people were. I was blessed with a family that was very warm, and we always had Sundays to each other. So I talked to my titos, I talked to my titas. I was very close with my lolo and lola, so it was very like you know wisdom was available to me. Like people were passing their wisdom to me, so it was. And a lot of guys actually were telling me, which is very toxic, I think, how to be a man. Because they're like, oh, you don't have a father. How are you gonna learn to be a man? But then some of these men, you know, how they dealt with their emotions was very self-destructive. So from my family's perspective, you know, like, of course, there was like some sort of discipline being like, if I ran in a garage and almost got run over by a car, I'm going to face the butt end of a chinelas, right? Or a belt. Like with those things that really, because I was a rambunctious kid. Like I had a lot going on. I didn't want to stay still. So there was some sort of discipline needed to like, you know, put me on the straight path. But others, you know, there'd be like physical violence, and I'm just like, well, I know I shouldn't be a man like that. Like that isn't what a man should be.
Oh, aware of you, damn.
Yeah, but also it was like I took it the wrong way too. Like I got into a lot of fights when people would call me a bastard, stuff like when things would get like so personal about like my family. I'm like, yo, I'm gonna lay down some smackdown, and that was also me being blinded by my emotions. I think because I couldn't control my emotions back then. I did not have the tools as good as my mom was trying, as best as my mom was trying. We really need to find the tools that works for us. Because like when they say your vision blurs, like I still to this day I remember, and I still apologize to my friends for like, you know, berserking out on them and just like feeling super bad afterwards because you're like, I didn't want to do that. So like anger and me have a very personal relationship, like navigating that anger and becoming more what you call a positive, I guess. Kasi if you're a type of person who interacts with people's energies and then you have like such bitter energy, it affects a lot of people.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
It's more so than people who don't really I'm talking very loosey-goosey here, very pseudo psych, but the vibes that people have, it's contagious. It's very contagious, and that's why, like, when people like you who are just like unapologetically like about self-love, it really affects a lot of people. So thank you again for being on the show, Laureen. But
Thank you for sharing what you said. Yeah, that's really nice.
yeah, and I try to be, I like what you said, like I try to be there for my younger self, but that also means like being like when I see angry kids or angry men, right? I'm like, dude, I hear you. I listen, and I'm there, like it's not cool to talk about men's feelings sometimes in some groups. So I'm usually that guy. I'm like, dude, like they'll swing by my place, we'll hang out, or sometimes we're just chilling in their car and then we're just venting, we're talking about life. And it helps so much. It's to be therapeutic, right? It's a therapeutic relationship. Well, I think it gets overwhelming at times, and sometimes I'm like, hey, I need, time for me. And sometimes I really think that the world just needs more therapeutic relationships.
Yes. Oh my God. Genuine, uplifting, good energy and connection. That's really all we need in this life. It's like it's not you against me. It's just us against the world, honestly.
Yeah. And a mantra or a quote that I really have in my head is like, we create the world we want to live in.
Yeah.
If we're exploiting people, if we're just, cheating everybody around us, we're creating that world. So really the only option we have for a better world is to create the world we want to live in and to affect people the way we want to, And I'd want to hear your thoughts about this. Can you share any strategies or practices that viewers or myself can prioritize for their emotional well-being while navigating their own transformative path? Because it's like a mountain, right? Like,
yeah,
it takes a lot of...
Yeah, it's one thing I had to think about, like, ever since my journey started. Like, not every journey is the same. So if these tools worked for me, if these resources work for me, then it works for me. It's not necessarily these will work for you too. So it's all just about you getting to know yourself. So you may have all these, because I have my sister. My sister is the closest one I talk to about these things. And I feel like for me, I try to be that person I needed growing up to her. So whenever she would ask me questions about this, I would tell her what I know, give her what I have. I gave her my books. I gave her all the journals I do. I gave her the practices I do. And I was like, you know what? It's up to you. No pressure. Every journey is different. Whatever speaks to your intuition, whatever speaks to, but whatever lights up your heart, you do it. Yeah. But I'll be here for you if you need help. So for me, as much as it can be overwhelming. Like when I first started, there was like, oh my God, really? I can do all of this? It's just all up to you. Like if you want to do like meditation, if you want to do like journals and like books, for me, all of those help, but not necessarily every day. Some people think it has to be like a habit that you do every day. But for me, it's just more of like when I feel like it, because I don't want it to feel like a chore.
Yeah.
When something starts to feel like a chore, you're over it. But if it's, but when you do something out of like, okay, this is what I truly feel like doing today. Like earlier, before being on this podcast, I just gravitated towards one of my journals. I was like, I feel like writing something. And then I did. I wrote a whole page of like, because there's like a journal prompt. There's like questions of like per day. And then that's what I wrote. So it really isn't one specific thing, one specific path. Yeah. As long as you know that you have these resources and these opportunities to like grow, it's just up to you to pick one because you know yourself best. And I feel like that's what happens with most people who undergo this journey, is that they feel the pressure to do something specific because we're so used to like being in school and having to do a specific homework, a specific test to get a higher grade. But in the journey of life, it's free for all. It's like, it's up to you, dude.
Yeah. That's what we do in the everyday. And I am a very firm believer in the 1% rule. Like, don't go, some people like go atomic right away. They're like, oh, I'm going to go 100% of it. No. Do 1%. Like if you're changing, if you're moving towards, your journey 1% a day, by the end of
Yeah.
the year, that adds up.
365%.
Yeah. Be kind to yourself too,
Yeah.
like, hey, we're going through this, like, Nick, we're gonna go through this, just let's go through it as smooth as we can. Life's tumultuous and stuff like that.
The thing about this is never ending. It just keeps going. Like after like for the times that I solve a problem or I solve like a toxic tendency that I had before, like another one just pops up. I'm like, oh my God, like I have more healing to do. I didn't know that.
Yeah.
I just get more and more like, you just get more and more used to it. Not really used to it. I think it's a bad, like you just get stronger. Like you get smarter and wiser and stronger in order how to handle the next situation. And that's just about it. So it's seriously no pressure into like diving into the whole thing because it's an everyday thing. And sometimes some days there's like nothing happening. Some days you're just like calm.
Oh.
And those are really good days. Some days you're just like, oh, I'm so happy. And then other days it just like crashes into you. But this time, like, you know how to handle it more.
Yeah.
Here's how it is.
And if you're working on improving yourself, like, and improving the tools that you have in your access, when those heavy storms come in your life, you'll have more tools. You'll be better at like, lifting yourself up and being gentle on yourself. So it's a very great way of looking at it. Through this whole journey of yours, were there specific lessons or insights that you have gained that had a profound impact on your personal growth or your journey to transformation?
Lessons. Oh, there's a lot. Like my brain just immediately
Let's do
just went,
top three. The top three ones that come into mind. Doesn't need to be the best or the worst, but
I guess the number one thing I had to learn is that I am the master of my own reality. Like I can live the way I want it to be. And it was hard for me to accept because like growing up with like such structure, like everything laid out for me. I'm just like, what do I do next? Like it's so scary to go into the unknown, but it's also very exciting. So when I started to realize that, oh, I do have control over my life, I can make it the way I want it to. That's just kind of like the pinnacle of like everything, all my other decisions in my life. I was like, I can choose anything, and it just gives you so much power, in a good sense, because you can make it better than it was before. And I guess another is just like it's another is don't take life too seriously, or just like where life is honestly a game in a sense.
oh, okay.
Like before I would take life so seriously and just like make every single thing a burden and make every single thing about me. So once I started looking at it in like a third person point of view, kind of like you're watching a TV show.
Yeah.
It's like it's all fun and games. It's like it's not that serious.
Yeah.
I guess that's what happened to me when I gave up my, not really gave up, but like when I set aside my engineering degree and I started going towards more like this creative path. And like as a creative, it can be like up and down, like you don't know what's gonna happen and it's not stable. That's when I started to realize like, wow, it's just like we're all just like having fun. Like when I come into work, I go into work and I'm like, it's time to have fun. Like, what are we doing today?
I get paid for this? Oh my God.
Yeah, I get paid for this. Like, damn. So when I started to look into like life in that way, as in like I wake up and I'm like, what adventure are we gonna do next? I guess it helps me live my life more positively. To just think of it as like, it's not that serious, you know that.
Yeah.
And then a third one would be like, the third one probably I think is just kind of hard, but I feel like it's not about me. I guess when you feel like the world is against you, you start to feel like, Lord, why? Like why is this happening to me? Why do you hate me so much? Like I thought that way so much. Like why me? Like why is everything bad happening to me? When I started to think like, oh no, when I started to think that every person has their own journey, everyone has their own demons, and I start to see them as human, like even my parents, like as much as you may not get along with your parents, they're also human. They're also going through this life for the first time. They didn't have as much resources as you had now when they were younger. And that's why they may not know as much as you do now. And that's why it makes you more empathetic to be like, hey, it's not just you. It's every single freaking person on this planet. We're all just trying to like be real. We're all just trying to like get through the day somehow. And it just seems like more of a community in that way, in a sense. It's kind of like when I meet someone new, I kind of like try to get a sense of who they are, and it just makes me think, oh, this person did this before they met up with me, and they're about to do something else after when they
Yeah.
part with me. So it just makes your life seem a little small, not in a bad sense, but just more of like,
You're part
I
of
can
this
hold
whole
on.
ecosystem.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. We're part of this whole ecosystem. We're all holding hands and singing carols.
Yeah. Me and my mom were kind of reminiscing because my stepdad's in the Philippines now, so I, do the trek
Mhm.
there and have lunch with her sometimes. Help her out with the garden, and we've been talking recently about because I have the. Let me start with what I say, what I tell
Yeah.
people. Like our life is the culmination of all our experiences and stuff. And when people ask me like, "What's your perspective on life?" and how I imagine that, how I tell people then is sometimes I just tell them to like envision this, okay? Like close your eyes. Like we're on a river, we're under this river called life, and then the destination is the sunset. And we're all like in bangkas, diba? Like I grew up in the Philippines, so my mind
Yeah,
straight goes to bangkas. We're like rowing down the river, and the people we meet are on other boats. And then sometimes we'll like swing by, park our boats together, have snacks and talk and stuff like that. Sometimes a bunch of boats will stick together and we'll just row. But those boats go their separate ways too. They might go down that ravine, they might go down a different river, but all in all, we're all just heading towards the same goal. And like what we do on those boats has effect on people. Like, if you want to just scream at people on the next boat and, disrespect other people, that's up to you. But I think the best interactions are when you really have those, when you're in the moment together, right? Like all of you have each other's attention, and it's just so meaningful, I think. Like,
When you slow down and start to see life for what it is
yeah.
and what you have right in front rather than worrying about the next thing or worrying about what
Yeah.
happened before. And you're just like, hey, you want to trade sugar? You want to trade my,
Yeah.
my papaya with your mango?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And
You
then
start to slow down and like, hey, are you having a good time? Like, yeah, we're flowing through this river. It's
yeah.
pretty nice.
And apparently my mom told me, I forgot exactly what she said, but and then when she told me that, I was like, Mom, do you know? And I told her that story. She's like, oh, see, it affected you that much that it became such a core pillar in your.
Oh, I love your mom already.
Oh, she's lovely.
Very
I keep. She was like a professor of psychology then in Ateneo, so people were
Oh,
just like. They would talk to me like, "Hey, your mom told me stories about your childhood." I'm like, "Oh my gosh, no, please."
so
But
nice though.
she's a great woman. She's very she keeps to herself though. Like I keep trying to tell her like, "Hey, mom, let's talk about this topic and stuff." But she, like, if people want to talk to her, I'm always like, "Okay, let's go. Let's have lunch with her, please."
Can I?
Oh, if you're down, like I feel
So
like
much
you.
to me already just from hearing stories
Oh,
about her.
same too. Like I'd like talking to you definitely like it's like, oh, she knows a lot. Wow. So this has been really great, and the next
Really.
question I have is self-reflection. Are you a fan of self-reflection?
Yeah, I
Yeah.
tend to debrief a lot
Yeah.
lately, actually.
How do you think that affects embracing your authenticity? Like taking your time for self-care, self-acceptance, self-reflection. Does it tie in?
It does actually. It helps me move forward because I I know myself. I can't stay stuck in a situation. Ever since I found out, oh, I can do this, I can, I can just get with it, like something like that. um I tend to stay in something that bugs me for a little while, because I know if I just shove it off, I'm not gonna have a good day or good week or a good month. The more I prolong it, the more I just push it aside, I'm just not gonna have a good time. And life is happening and I'm not present, So for me to stay present, I have to sit with myself. I have to sit with what hurt me. I have to sit with what bugged me. And there has to be something there that I have to heal. So for me personally, I just get right into it. If I need to cry, I cry. If I need to get angry, I get angry. But it's mostly just with myself, because I know I don't want to, because I have, like what I've been mentioning, I tend to bleed on other people when I wasn't healed. So right now I sit with myself, I journal, I video myself talking. Sometimes I sit down and just like stay in a park. I freaking love parks. I just stay there and lie down and just like, oh my God, the world is actually really nice. So just to acknowledge how you're feeling is the first step for me. Acknowledge how you feel and then feel it. Because if you're angry, you feel angry. And then once that's over, it's never actually going to be over. You kind of like get a sense of clarity of like, okay, maybe this is the reason why I'm feeling this way. Maybe it affects me because it's what made me feel, it makes me feel like the same way I felt when I was a kid. It makes me feel the same way I felt when I had trouble with one of my friends before, with my family. So it's just more of like being open to the fact that you can change this, you can break the cycle. That's like a common notion between all of my problems. It's always has been a cycle. And I have to change just like one little thing just to break the cycle. And then I can take a deep breath. Because I don't know, it's like I have actually right in front of me is a picture of me when I was 4 years old, and a quote I've had since I was in college. And just like a paper saying, I'm a delicate fucking flower, don't mess with me.
I love that.
So it's just kind of like just centering yourself again as to why you're living your life. You're living for yourself. You're living for peace. You're living for genuine happiness. And I don't know, like once I realized how short life is, because I've always been scared of death. Once you realize how precious each day is. Wow, we're getting cheesy. It's just like, it's just like why be mad? Why stay mad? Like look at this little kid. She had no care in the world. She's holding her Minnie Mouse doll and she was just like laughing and having fun.
You want to share the picture?
Oh yeah. Actually, so this is the entire thing.
Oh, there you go.
So this is me. I'm not sure how old this was. I was a bald baby. And
very loud.
This quote is never give up on a dream just because of the time it will take to accomplish it. The time will pass anyway. So this kind of helps in a sense of like slowing down, like, what's meant for me will come for me. And this one's just like something to remind me that I can stand up for myself if I want to.
Yeah, put your foot down. Boundaries too, right? Boundaries are...
As a people pleaser, recovering people pleaser.
Boundaries are very important to us. So. No, but it's great. Like what you said also helps us in the future live in the moment. Because if you're not living in the moment now, it becomes a regret. It becomes becomes kind of depression. And then if you already know you have a pattern of doing that, it leads to anxiety. So a quick question I want to run by you here is, what is your relationship with emotions and how do you handle them? How does it go through you? How do you release it into the world?
Emotions.
Channeling is what it's called, right?
Sorry?
Channeling is what it's called, like when you use your emotions and then you release it in a controlled way that you want to use. Yeah.
For me right now, my emotions are my friends and my emotions are always valid. I try to keep that in mind. My emotions are always valid, but that doesn't mean I can be rude or unpleasant to anyone. I've always, growing up, my emotions were always felt like invalidated. And so for me to validate my own emotions was kind of like one of my first steps also. And to think of my emotions as friends rather than discrepancies or like things that make me look like a bad person or make me look like evil. Like what you said earlier when you had a friend and you had like the anger the anger management thing and like just men being like angry. Like as much as that is unpleasant, it may look unpleasant, it's still valid. Because for them, it actually hurt. For them, this is the rage that it leads to. So it's never wrong to be mad. It's never wrong to be sad. It's just this. It's just like the gravity of how you want it to affect other people. That's just like a fine line. But when you're with yourself, your emotions are your friends. And I'm lucky enough to have genuine people that are around me that tell me that my emotions are valid and they talk to me gently. My partner, actually, my boyfriend, he's like during one of our first dates, like I went up and told him like straight on. I was like, I have 4 different personalities. I told him, I have 4 different personalities. One is Laureen, she's happy, she's joyful. Audrey, she's sad, she's angry, she will step on you if she needs to. Um, I have Amber, and she's a crybaby. She's sad about everything. And I have Lauren. Lauren is just like very just like vivacious and like sexy. She doesn't care what you think. And then he told me, he was like, those are just emotions, right? And that just healed 6 years of my life. It healed so much of my inner being. I was like, you see me as human. Thank you.
Yeah.
For most of my life, my emotions, I feel like there were some people who I trust who told me that I was a bad person because of my emotions, because they didn't see me.
You could only be the specific person around them.
Yeah.
Ganon, yeah.
Yeah. Like they didn't see me deeper than what they wanted to see. Like they just wanted to see Lorene. And that's it. And for me to show Audrey or Amber or Lauren, they were just like, who the fuck are you? Like, what are you trying to do? But for someone to see me completely and as a whole and be like, you can have bad days. You can be sad sometimes. You can be angry. You can stand up for yourself. You can be sexy. You can do this and that. That's all you. And so for people to just see me in that way as like...
The sexy is confidence, right? It gotta be like...
Yeah, confidence.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah, confidence. Okay. It's just crazy to me that I can be all of me to a person after it being invalidated for so many years.
I used to be the class clown, so being sad was... They're like, Nick, why are you sad?
Right?
This isn't you.
Right?
I'm just like, oh shit. So you end up breaking down like in the back of the like gym or something. You're just like, fuck. And it's just you, though. You're like what you said earlier. You're the one that's gonna save yourself. You're the one that's gonna like rise yourself up. So I see you.
It's also like your own fault because I only just showed this side of me until now.
Yeah,
So it's like, okay, so maybe you're used to this because this is what I only showed. So you really can't blame anyone else.
Yeah.
Like as much as you want to, you kind of created that reality for yourself. So for you to have the power not to create an entire different reality, it's like I can wake up and be like, I can stretch.
Yeah. Oh, that's so great. Thank you for sharing that. I also kind of wanna see what you think, because I kind of navigated it a little bit different. Like I was high functioning, diba? And parang I was aware that about my relationship with depression, that I just thought it would last forever when I had depression. So I thought like, okay, so every 3 months I'm gonna have like a severe depressive episode. And that's just the way life is. So until like 2019, I think, like around COVID, around when the protests happened, diba? Parang coming from a generation that martial law. We heard about it, we felt the effects, we saw the effects of our country, and then kinda, diba, experiencing that here in America, it was very like, I'm thinking like this. And we're going back here to basic human rights. So I'm just like, oh my God. So I went there and diba, parang, I just saw the anger in everyone's faces, diba? And for me, I didn't feel like I was the right person in that moment to parang fix anything, because it was just like down to the police, down to the anger that they had, down to like the anger of like different communities. Like there were Latino communities, Black communities, white communities there, diba? And that was just super overwhelming for me. And the fact that I got shot by a beanbag shotgun. And when I got home, diba, I was just like, holy shit.
You got shot?
With a shot, like they have like riot weapons. Like
yeah.
the beanbag. And I was just already like, and people were already like kind of taking pictures, and I was like, I don't want to be that. I don't want to be another hurt person because of like whatever. So the powers that be, but that's what was in my mind, and I was thinking about the Philippines then. So it's like in a really dark place in COVID, and so I picked up a lot of meditation. Like I lived a hermit life. I didn't go out. I didn't like really talk to people too much, and I was like doing just the internal work. And that was when that was the start of when I stopped having depressive episodes until today, which is like, I say that and I'm like, I'm 30 years old, diba? And how old are you, if you don't mind me asking?
26.
26, diba? And so you started at a very young age and you're helping other people then, like younger people, diba? So it's so great.
Yeah, my
talaga
sister.
yeah. And I think that's the purest form of like, you know what life. Kasi as a ate, diba? As a older sister, you were the spearhead. You're the first one to experience life, and the fact that you're giving these bits of information and knowledge for your sister to like, diba? Parang, it's great. It's really great.
You just know how scary the world is, so you kind of want to shelter them, but you also want them to like learn on their own way.
To
It's just,
experience it.
yeah,
Oh, you'd
yeah.
make a great mother. I already know. I'm calling that. And the change, diba? The effect of that has parang the positive impacts. I feel like positive and negative impacts are affect people very strongly. So we need to be careful about what we release. Diba? And we need to be aware. We need to have the tools. So if you grew up, diba, with a family that didn't have the tools, it's either like you live like, okay, whatever, I'm not gonna have kids, or you can get the tools. Like what you said, our generation has access to so many tools to improve our lives, to take that next step. But the tool I want to share with you and the viewers are my relationship with emotions at that time. Like you called them friends. Like how I saw it was very in the meditative sense, because I was studying it. I was studying meditation. I went through so many different like lessons. I even went to a monk once. And I was like,
great.
dude, you have this potential to touch people. Why aren't you doing that? And then he was like, you can't force people to change. Like I could go into the city block and tell people like, hey, you should meditate. They're not going to do it. They have to seek it. So it has to be like this very meaningful journey for you to go there and find that enlightenment. And what I found was like different teachers, diba, saw emotions as gods. Like, diba? And it's a very ancient ritual, diba? So there's like the god of anger, the god of jealousy, the god of lust. It visits your body. And when that visits your body, you're not you. If you act out with the god of anger inside your body, you act out, parang napossess ka. You're just like acting out of that emotion. So what they said you should do is like you take it in, you understand it, and then you act.
Where it's coming from, where it's stemming from.
Yeah.
It's not you. It's just like how you reacted in that sense.
Yeah.
That's nice. It's kind of like nice to like know that you are not your emotions.
Yeah.
As much as they are you, you kind of separate yourself from your emotions, so you can analyze it in a way that you can be like, okay, time to pick out and what's wrong, you know?
Yeah. And it's very different than being hip fire reaction. Like, oh, you're supposed to be mad, bro. You're supposed to stand up for. And it's like, oh, there's no control there. It's just like, wow, letting it go. So that's something I wanted to share. I hope
That's nice.
it's very beneficial.
Yeah.
And I think it's something like change. Like when we talk about change, sometimes people want it really quick.
Yeah. Yeah. That's the thing, because people don't want to deal with it.
They're like, what's the shortcut? What's the quickest way? What's the quickest way, Nick? Tell me.
Yeah.
And they're like,
I was like, that's how it works. I'm sure. And also like what you said, like when people are ready, it falls on deaf ears. And I feel like that has happened. I feel like that happened with you when you weren't ready. It probably happened with me when I wasn't ready. There really isn't like this, like when people say like how you have a quarter life crisis at 25, everybody just thinks that at 25 you're gonna go through something. But for me, it happened when I was like 23, 24. If that was my quarter life crisis, so there really isn't like specific day or date or time that this something happens to you. It just happens.
yeah. And like what you said, like I wasn't ready before. Like my mom would, she taught like it's a different class of psych. Like they teach hypnosis. I forgot the
Yeah.
name of the class. So very ganun, diba? And
You
then
had resources all your life.
yeah, and she would like practice on us. So
Right.
as a kid, I was like, and I was
Nice.
like, I was the type na parang I was so much stuff was running in my head that that's kind of why I gravitated towards the performing arts, sports,
Okay.
because it keeps your mind out of it. Like
Yeah.
what got me actually, because I reached a point where I wasn't getting subbed out because I just wanted to run. I was like, if I'm sitting down, I'm like looking at the game, but I'm also thinking about my life. So I'm like, coach, how do I not get subbed out? Well, you gotta not get tired. So I'm like, so I just like ran. I just like practiced my cardio, and I was like, okay, this is the best. This is the best way to like not deal
Distract
with.
yourself
Yeah.
in a way. Yeah.
And then my mom was teaching me, diba? I wasn't listening at that time, but she was teaching me meditation. And I was just like, Mom, I don't want to do this. I don't want to
Yeah.
confront these
Same.
things.
Yeah.
It's about confronting them, then having the courage to trust yourself that you will come out okay when you stare at the deepest, darkest parts of your soul or your, diba, your person. So
Yeah, I get that. Because I had like so many distractions before. I feel like I immersed myself in like when you're in college, you have org activities. Like I was in like multiple orgs at the same time. I feel like my distractions were also like my barcadas in the Philippines. Not that any of them are bad. It's just like I knew I may have been using them at that time, so I won't face my inner demons.
Yeah.
Like I had a relationship almost all my childhood just for me not to, just because I felt like I was running away from my problems. Like I needed someone to be like, hey, you don't actually have problems, but that's it. You eventually have to face them anyway.
yeah. Yeah. I was an alcoholic. I will be very,
Same.
yeah. I can admit, like some people are like, dude, you were so young. And I was like, no, I'm telling you, like I needed alcohol to like
I mean, it helps
function.
with anxiety.
Yeah. Yeah. So,
Yeah, for me,
and then you
yeah.
become parang, I, I don't know the word for it, but the more alcohol you drink, like I can control myself kasi. And then it's just like, you forget about it and you become more bubbly.
Yeah,
You become
yeah.
your better self, but at the cost of alcohol, at the cost of liver. Like I used to drink a lot, and in the Philippines, there's a term, like I call it, may pinapatay akong demonyo, which
But
means I'm killing a demon inside me, and that's why I drink. And then you drink the bad stuff away. And for me, like looking back, like dude, you were an alcoholic, you know.
same. No, like every time there was an event, every time I had to like speak to people I didn't know, I needed a drink. And I knew just like the more drinks I had, the more comfortable I would feel. But just more of like me just not being comfortable with myself and confident in myself. That's why I needed a drink.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
Yeah, it's crazy, you know. And for this, it segues perfectly into my next question: is what message or advice would you like to share with viewers, encouraging them to embrace their true selves and pursue their passions unapologetically?
First and foremost, don't pressure yourself into anything. Like as much as we may be very outspoken about what we learn in our journey, it's like what we continuously mentioned, it's not the same for everyone. So just the fact that if you are watching this right now, if you are listening to this right now, you've taken a step, and that's it. That's all you have to congratulate yourself for today. Like pat yourself on the back for actually listening to this, for paying attention, for writing down lessons. Because it's not easy. It's not. It's up and down. It's a roller coaster. Sometimes you go back to who you were before. Like I still get that even now. Like sometimes I feel like, oh no, I'm going down a rabbit hole again. I'm spiraling down. Like I don't feel like I'm making any progress. But that's just the way it is. As stuck as it sounds, the more you get into this journey, the more you're just like, okay. Like you become more mellow, you become more calm, you become more accepting of the fact that I'm human. It's gonna take time. As long as I'm aware, as long as I want to grow, as long as I want to take the next step, I do whatever I can for now.
Yeah.
You don't have to pressure yourself into like doing all these things at the same time. You don't have to set a deadline for anything. You don't have to be like, oh, in this a year from now, dapat ganito ako, dapat ganyan. And it's not the way that it is. And I guess all you can do for yourself right now is set an intention. Like, what do you want to get out of this? Is this for you to fill up your ego? Is this for you to actually get better and be happy? Is this for you to heal your relationships with your family, with your friends? Is this for you to find what your passion is? It's just, I don't know, like when I first started, I had all these journals of what I wanted my life to be like. And now that I got most of it, in the sense that I had the acting, the modeling, I was gaining followers. I was being more known online, and I had more friends. Like I got so much of what my inner teen wanted, and now that I do have it, it's like it didn't really mean as much as I thought it would mean, because it was just more of me just like seeking the validation and attention that I never had as a kid. So it's just like, just be delicate with yourself, like care for yourself in a way that you wish an adult would, and care for yourself in a way that you are soft. Like I try to live as soft, slow, and full as possible recently, and that's all I think about. Like all my decisions are based on that. Like I used to be, just a year ago, I used to be in very hustler mode. Like I have to do this, I have to do that, I have to go to the shoot, I have to go to this. And right now I'm just like, I'm slowing down. Like I've got so much of what I wanted to achieve in this life. And it's kind of like you see a bigger picture at this point. It's not all about the glitz and glamour and the followers and everything. Like you start to look at life as if it's super simple, because it is.
Oh, thank you for that. Thank you for that.
Thank you.
Well, I have a question. Now that, the past Laureen has been fulfilled, what does your next 2 years look like?
Tricky question.
Right? Like now that the prophecy has been fulfilled, what's next for Laureen?
I don't know. Like I'm still taking things slow, honestly. Like what I said, like even with getting all the attention in the past few years, because the past 3 years since moving here has been so fast, and people just see me as like a byproduct of all my achievements. It's just, I don't see myself in that way. So for whoever I will be in the past few years, I just hope she's happy and she's actually genuine with what she's doing, and she's not doing things for the benefit of other people. She's not doing things for the attention of other people. She's doing things because she simply loves it. And if anyone likes what future me likes and it resonates with them, then that's all that matters at that point.
Very well said. Very well said. Could you share like a personal mantra or a guiding principle that has helped you navigate challenges in your life and helped you to stay true to yourself? Like how can like mantras help develop in people like inspirations and motivation to then go on?
One of the things that I continuously say or repeatedly say whenever I'm going through a tough time is good things are coming for me. Like it may not look like it right now, but I know good things are coming for me. Because through all the tough times I've been through thus far, a good thing has always happened after. So I'm just like, good things are coming for me. Like I don't know what it is yet. I don't know what I'm trying to learn right now. I don't know what this turbulence means, but good things are coming for me one way or another. It's just like a law of assumption kind of thing.
Yeah. Beautiful, beautiful. Based on our conversation, what were the key points you would like to emphasize regarding embracing authenticity, prioritizing your emotional well-being?
Key point
wrap up. Yeah.
Key point is definitely listen to yourself, like what we've been mentioning. Like as on your first step of like being healthier overall, in a sense, is like listen to what you need and what your inner child or inner teen needs. Like sit down with yourself and be present and just think, okay, what are the things in my life right now that are hindering me from moving on to better things? So, and also just like us talking about like living slower and just like the bangka and everything. Like we're all going through this life. It's either we fight with the next bangka or we just share what we have with the next magga. It's up to you. But we're all just going towards the same sunset. I feel like that was. I need to talk to your mom.
Oh, please, please. She's very welcoming.
And also just like being aware of the fact that we all don't have the same resources and everything. It's all loosey goosey.
Yeah. Oh, thank you, Laureen.
Thank you. I like this conversation.
Yeah, it's a very great way to start the day. Is there anything else before we wrap this up? You have the mic. If there's anything you wanna tell the audience about this subject we spoke about, or if you want to put something out to the universe, you have the floor.
Well then, I'd like to speak this out sometimes whenever just like walking around or something. I don't know. I just hope we all get to heal what we're hurting from, even if we don't tell other people. Like as much as you've been telling me about your problems and everything, as much as I've been telling you about my problems, there's always just like an underlying anything. Like there's always gonna be like a heavier and heavier subject. So as much as we can be open and like share a hand or a heart or an ear to other people, I know there are some things we never say out loud. So for anyone who's listening or watching, for the things that you can't say out loud, I hope that even with all of that chaos in your mind and your head and your soul, that you still be kind to yourself and that you continuously work hard in all aspects of your life. Because as much as we do want to do the work, it can be hard when it's hard, because it's just the reality of it. It can be hard. So be kind to yourself, rest when you can, and give yourself a pat on the back as much as you can too. So
Beautiful. And if you would want to help out Laureen's sticker business, you could follow her on Stickies, which is STICKIIIES. So again, that's Stickies with 3 I's.
oh, thank you.
If you want to plug in your personal Instagram, like maybe have conversations with someone, there you go, at Stickies.
And sticky. Personal Instagram, you'll find it on Stickies.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. Thank you again, Laureen, and thank you everyone for spending this time with us in this wonderful episode of The Howl. Catch us next time. And for the viewers at home, walk with love, my friends, and we will see you again on the next episode of The Howl.